Hello. There you are.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
If you hear snoring in the background, I got a dog laying over here in the dog bed. So,
That's okay. That's okay.
so I saw your videos.
Yeah.
So thanks for sending those. Nothing out the ordinary.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all normal.
So Cora has she's always been a very rough player. She plays
Sure.
rough.
Mm-hmm.
And she plays with her first friend was a German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
And they would like, rah, 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 over each other's necks, and they had the best time. But not all dogs like to play rough. So, Cora didn't always make good friends with everybody when she was younger because not everybody likes to play that way.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to avoid, and maybe we can't avoid it, is for Appa to become a really rough player and not to be able to be very friendly or fun with other dogs. I want other dogs to want to play with him. And
Sure.
I'm wondering if it's just a matter of him differentiating that Cora plays rough and maybe other dogs don't. And maybe, once he's 4 months and has all of his vaccinations and we get him around other dogs, that he'll learn the social, I don't know. Maybe he'll just be less rough because he's a little smaller and different personality. I don't know. Tell me what you think, because I'm just concerned that he's going to end up rough playing like she does, and maybe that's not bad, but I'd like to avoid it if I can.
So it's really just the puppy's personality type. From what I saw there, a pretty typical play style.
Okay.
I think they play really well, and she's actually showing quite a bit of restraint if you're saying that she's a rough player.
She does. So exactly. And so what happens is when we're playing indoors, when they're playing indoors,
Sure.
There's some areas in the house that Cora is restricted from going into. For example, the kitchen. She doesn't exercise any self-control around food. So we love this house because we can control the two entrances into the kitchen with invisible fence discs. Keeps her out.
Okay.
We don't have to worry about food when we're in the kitchen. It's amazing. It's night and day from our old house. So Appa, that's where he eats. His food bowl and his water bowl's in the kitchen. When he wants a break, he loves the kitchen tile. It's the only place in the house with tile floor. He loves being on a cool floor. So he retreats there a lot. He sleeps under the kitchen counter that we have, a little breakfast counter that he goes under where our feet are when we're sitting there. He likes to be just in cool spaces, and that's the coolest place in the house. And also, if she's chasing him, and he can run in there and kind of get away, and it seems like it's like a safe spot for him and his safe place. And when they're playing indoors, sometimes he can, and he doesn't go in there very often, but when they're playing now, but initially he could run in there and kind of escape Cora's wrath, and it was safe for him. They seem to play less rough when they're inside. When they're outside, like we go into the backyard, and they're like, she's bulldozing him, and he'll roll over a couple times, he'll jump back on his feet, and it doesn't seem to bother him. He goes right back for more. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are they getting out of control? She's never hurt him. He's done a little squeaks a couple times and she backs off.
Good.
So, but she looks like she's like intense, and it starts to scare me sometimes when they're playing outdoors, and it seems like it's a little bit out of control because there's no boundaries outside. The grass is broad, and they can run back and forth, and he doesn't have anywhere to go to hide. Like if she's on him, he's 15 pounds, she's 100 pounds.
Sure.
He doesn't have, so it starts to scare me. So what I've been doing, and tell me if this is just not right, but I've been trying to limit the last few days the amount of outdoor play they have, just to make it less rough and just to avoid that situation.
Right.
What do you think?
No, I think there's a lot of positives here, and what you're doing isn't bad either in terms of regulating. So what I like about Cora's rough play is that's what toughens up your puppy.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay.
Okay, because when people get dogs like Appa that look like Appa, they treat them like little teddy bears, you know, and they protect, and try to make life as positive as possible when that's not reality. And Chorus is treating him like a dog. Granted, she's
Right.
100 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And he squeaks and she responds. That's really good. So she's there's a possibility that she could potentially address her play or adjust her play as she learns more about Appa, right? Not a guarantee, but a possibility. If she, because at some point it's possible that she could work him out, and he's like, you know what, no, like I can't play with you. You're too much, right? But if she's responding and respecting his squeaks and backing off and dialing down, that's actually learning for her. Okay. Now, in my opinion, it's always on the owners to regulate. So I like that you said, the outside time we're limiting to 15 minutes, for example, right?
Right.
So the reason why that's good is typically people let dogs just go, and dogs, depending on the dog, don't have real good self-regulation in some cases. Okay. Now, by limiting the time, you're really only kind of preventing it from potentially getting there, because let's say you go out like on a camping trip and you bring the pups, and they're going to be outside for hours, right? It's going to keep potentially escalating.
Right.
So if I'm not opposed to the time limit, but another way, and the way that I go about it, is I use my e-collar.
Okay.
And I put it very low, the lowest that I know that would connect with Cora, but also get her attention.
Okay.
And when it starts to get a little too rough, you don't say anything, you just give a little tap. And what happens is it brings her down. Okay, so it's like you're biting Cora for getting too intense. Okay?
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
I do this a lot, so like at my daycare, one of the things we promote is that it's not a free-for-all.
Right.
Okay? So that's why in the 9 months.
And that's kind of that's exactly how I see it. It's like, Cora, you know what? You need to chill out a little bit. Like bring it down a couple of notches.
Right. It's like kids. Like I grew up with two brothers and a sister, and I'm the oldest. And they're roughly close. They're within like 2 years of each other. So the three of them would get pretty loud pretty quickly. So my mom would have to step in and say like, no, like you're getting to be too much. And either she would put them outside where they could, be as loud as they wanted, or she'd say, if it was raining, like if you're going to play inside, you have to keep it quiet. Right. But for Cora, you don't have that type of communication. The communication would be the e-collar.
Right.
And,
okay.
But in the beginning, it's not uncommon that you might see some dip in her play drive.
Okay. I'm taking notes, which is why I'm looking this way.
You're fine. It's not uncommon you'll see dips in play drive, because now you're adding boundaries, and you're adding boundaries through correction.
Okay.
So I just posted a video up on my YouTube with a couple that have a pit bull puppy. It's like 4 months now, and they liked playing tug of war with her, but they didn't want to create bad habits, or like they were afraid of making her aggressive. Now I'm like, no, it's perfectly healthy, but you want to put rules to it.
Okay.
So in the training session, you see the owner correcting the puppy whenever she doesn't release the object on command, or when she goes for the object without permission. So then you start to see her dip in terms of play, right? Because now it's like she's trying to figure out what exactly is causing these corrections to happen. But as they work with her more, you'd find that she'd eventually gain her confidence back and go, oh, when you say drop, I just leave it alone, and that means I can't touch it anymore. But then you get normal play, right?
Okay.
So, and I can send that to you just to give you a visual. In your case, you'll be using an e-collar, right?
Okay.
You always start low.
So when we walk her and I'm correcting her for healing, or when other dogs are walking by, it's between like 36 and 40. Mm-hmm. So would I take it down to like 20?
I'd go down to like 10.
Okay.
Because here, I go down as 10, which is stupid low.
Yeah.
Because we're not worried about potential like reactivity, right? It's really just, I want to just taper you down, but I don't want to kill your play drive ideally, right?
Right.
So I start at 10, and the moment you start to see her get a little edgy, I just give a couple of taps, no words, very important, no words,
Okay.
and see what she does,
Okay.
right? You might see her shake her neck and walk away. She might even come to you. Completely ignore her.
Okay.
Completely ignore her, because if you address her, she's going to think that the taps meant that you said something and maybe she didn't hear it,
Okay.
right? And what we want her to learn is the taps merely mean settle, right?
Okay.
And then she should end up going back, playing with the puppy, and it might be like a little bit standoffish. It's okay. If you see no response on 10, then I go to 13 or 15, right?
Okay.
Then 15 or 18. I'm slowly just going up. And you might find yourself back at the 30 range like you would for obedience, which is fine, but we always want to start low because we're trying not to kill the play drive, okay?
Right.
If you do, by chance, do an overhit and you see her kind of shut down or whatever, don't console her, leave it alone, okay? If she doesn't play, just go back inside, reset, don't worry about it. And then, the next few times you take her out, I would expect she's not going to play, which is normal. But eventually the curiosity is going to come back.
Okay.
Okay. And then we just try again.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to have a problem really in terms of an overhit. I just think you're gonna because if they're outside zooming around, because she is zooming around, the 10 may not register because she's running and the collar is bouncing and things like that. So that's where I think you might have some issue is just trying to get good connection while they're in high activity.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So what I've been doing inside with her, so I think we had shared with you that she had this habit of barking very obnoxiously to get our attention. She thought she was the center of the universe all the time, and she would just stand and bark, and she's loud. So she started barking a little bit again, and I'm pretty sure she associates this vibration color that we had with the barking. So she'll be barking at Appa, and I tell her, Cora, use your indoor voice. Like, I don't mind her going, ar, 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 but when she starts like, bark, bark, it's really loud. And I'm not going to tolerate 10 years of them playing so loud in the house. So I tell her to use her indoor voice. I put the collar on her. I haven't used it yet, but I just put the collar on her, and she doesn't bark. Correct. She doesn't bark at her. Or I say, Cora, use your indoor voice. And she's so smart. I don't know. I think she associates all of that with barking. So it's really helped the barking. So I can see how the e-collar, just doing a little small tap, I think it'll work really well. I think that's a really good suggestion. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. So e-collar is such a versatile tool.
Yeah.
I can, get off leash obedience and control. So when I walk with my dogs off leash, like they're zooming around 30 feet, peeing, pooping, smelling and stuff. And if they go a little too far, I don't need to call them, because calling means come to me. Right. I need them to not go so far. So then I go really low and I give them a little tap, and they'll come in closer. So they've understood the concept of, oh, I was too far. I don't need to go to dad, but I can't be that far away from dad.
That's amazing.
So when you start to understand the nuances and the level of collar, and how it communicates in different contexts, it makes things very easy.
So I've been using the e-collar too with her, just to quickly, we're talking about the e-collar. What she loves to chase squirrels. So we were first using the e-collar for healing and trying to keep her focused on me so she's not attacking dogs when we're walking by them. So there's still one dog that she can't stand, and I think he stares at her every time he walks by. And sometimes I'll just walk the other direction when I see them coming, because it's this Vizsla, and there's some reason they just do not like each other. And she'll go after him. He's the only one that she doesn't have any control, even with the collar on. So I need to start practicing and turning it up a little higher with her on that one. But I think he taunts her. I do. I think he walks by, and his owner doesn't walk by fast. He's this old Polish man, and he like walks by kind of gingerly. I'm like, can you just walk by? We're sitting here. She's sitting, behaving. Just walk by fast. Because I'll see them on the trail, and then there's nowhere to go, right? I mean, right. It'll be a narrow part of the trail, and I'm like, oh, crap. So anyway, she's been doing really well with the e-collar for healing and paying attention, except for this one dog. But other than that, she's been really good. She also chases squirrels. So I've been telling her, leave it. And now I've been giving her a tiny tap when she goes after the squirrel, and then she stops. Is that okay?
Yes.
Because then the last time when we were out this morning, I said, leave it. And I didn't even have to tap. She just thought about it and didn't go after the squirrel, which saves my shoulder because she's strong. And she just goes. So when she's not healing, right? When she's just walking with me, she should be walking nicely and not be bolting after a squirrel or a bunny.
Right. So, and it gets a little bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
So, the theory behind heal was that if she's focused on you, then she's not going to blow up at dawns, right?
That's right.
But then there's the other aspect of like, well, there's squirrels all over the place.
Right.
Now, if you say leave it before, when you see her showing interest and then you tap, in Cora's mind, technically she can pursue the squirrel until you say leave it.
Okay. So
then if you see 100 squirrels, you're saying leave it 100 times.
Right.
If she sees a squirrel that you don't see, good luck.
That's right. I always say I have to see it first. Otherwise I'm screwed. This is even before the e-collar. If I see the squirrel first, I can I get her attention and snaps off the squirrel. But if she sees it first, I'm dust.
So what I would do instead is when you see her see the squirrel, you just tap.
Okay.
No warning.
Okay.
So then she thinks, oh, if I show any interest in a squirrel, this automatically happens. Okay.
Okay.
So like my guys, if we're at the park and there's a bunch of squirrels in the trees, but they're outside of what I would call our bubble, they won't just go chasing them. Because I've made a default rule of the squirrels have nothing to do with you. Okay.
Right.
Now, if I give them what I would call like a secondary release, because there's a release from obedience, right? But then there's the release of, okay, sure, you can go chase that squirrel.
Right.
So it's like there's like a second release to give them permission of now you can do so, right?
Right.
But by default, whether they're on their free time or if they're walking in heel with me, squirrels, rabbits, geese, birds, pigeons, whatever, they cannot go after, period.
Okay.
They need permission for that, right? So, and all I did was anytime they saw a prey, I would just remote.
Okay.
Okay. And then eventually, once I saw that they didn't think you'll see like they'll look at the squirrel and just right away look away. They don't like get lost in a thought process. Is then I could say, okay, break, and then kind of gesture towards the squirrel, and they'd look at me and boom, they'd go. Okay. So this way, if you're walking and maybe she's on her own time on a release and you get caught up in a conversation, she sees a squirrel, you're not worried about getting caught off guard because you've set default. You have nothing to do with squirrels unless I give you permission to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
It's kind of like me, like when I was growing up, when I did all my chores and stuff, it didn't mean I could just go out to play with my friends, right? I had to be given permission. I was on my own time. I completed all my chores and tasks and my homework, but I couldn't just leave. There was like, sure, you can go play video games, you can read a book, you can play in the yard and all that stuff. But there was a secondary kind of permission thing where she's like, I'd have to ask my mom to go to my friend's house. I look at this.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So when, so we've been walking Cora and Appa together every morning.
Good.
And today we went the farthest we've ever gone. We went over 2 miles. Mm-hmm. And he's doing great. He sometimes he doesn't want to go, but then we pick him up and carry him, a couple houses, or it's usually at the very beginning. And he's like, he doesn't like to be carried, so he's like, let me down. Today he was awesome, and they're walking really well together. She's doing really well with him too. Like the walking today was amazing. It was great. I mean, it was great. So the walking's going really well.
Excellent.
And he is doing well. He's not doing great on potty training.
Okay.
He can hold it. He holds it from like 10:30 at night until 7 a.m.
Right.
So in his crate, he doesn't pee. He peed once and he laid in his pee, you know, in the crate, and he never did it again. So I know we can hold it.
Yep.
In the daytime when he's wandering around, he's not getting the cue that he needs to go to the back door to go out to pee. There's only been a couple times when he's gone and like looked out the window and I said, oh, you got to go. Okay, let's go. And then he runs out and goes, but a handful of times. Usually it's us noticing he's sniffing around, or after we play, we take him out. After he eats, we take him out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking him out on a regular basis, and I can tell him to go, and he typically goes, but he isn't giving us a cue that he needs to go.
Right.
And he's not quite 3 months yet, and I'm wondering, is he behind? What is there something more we should be doing to help him understand what the cue,
Right.
how he can cue us?
So I actually don't recommend that people teach their dog to cue them.
Okay.
Because for two reasons. One is he's not associating it as I'm telling you I have to potty.
Okay.
He's saying I'm telling you I want to go outside.
Okay.
Okay, which is very different.
Okay.
And some puppies will learn to abuse that. And I swear to God, I've had people say, you know, my puppy will go to the door like they have to go potty. I'll open it. They'll go and fake piddle. Yes, like they'll go and they'll lift their leg and then just start playing.
Really?
Yes.
Like they're trying to please. Oh, that's funny.
So the dog just learned, if I sit here, I go outside, and then they run around playing, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
The second thing is, if you happen to miss the cue, the Appa's going to potty. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what you're wanting is to actually put them on a schedule, and you want to put them on your schedule.
Okay.
So my guys, I never rewarded. I shouldn't say never. I put them on a schedule, and now, if maybe they get sick, they have diarrhea or stomach issues. If they have to go outside of the norm, they'll let me know, despite the fact that I never taught that. Okay. So if that's a concern, don't worry about it, because when you have a really well potty trained dog, trust me, in the future, if he's got to go out of the general time frame, he'll let you know.
Okay.
So for a puppy at 3 months, when you say like he's able to hold it overnight, that's normal. The schedule applies to when they're awake and active.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say we'll take a Saturday when everybody's home. And what time do you guys wake up?
Well, we usually get him up around 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to leave him in his crate and ask him to hold it for more than 8 or 9 hours. I just don't think that's fair for
Sure.
him.
So you're up at 7, immediately potty, right?
Yep.
I'm assuming breakfast and then another potty.
That's right. We do a potty and a poop. We go for a walk. We bring him back. We feed him, and then another potty.
Correct. Okay. And then what time would you say you're back in from that second potty?
Today, let's see, he was up at 7. We were out the door at like 7:20. We got home around 8:15. So we were back in around 8:30.
Okay.
So like an hour and a half. It's usually an hour and a half between when we get him up and when we're back, done, walked, peed, pooped, ate, and then he's like crashes on the kitchen floor.
Okay. So 8:30 is when we would start our clock.
Right.
So at this age, technically he can hold it for 3 hours.
Okay.
Because it's an hour per month of the puppy's age.
Right.
But he's probably going to be at 2 hours.
Okay.
Because there hasn't been a set schedule.
Okay.
So 10:30, 12:30, 2:30, 4:30, 6:30, 8:30, 10:30, right?
Okay.
That's the general structure.
Okay.
So let's say 8:30, we're back inside. He wakes up from his nap at 9:30. Okay. Puppies after napping typically have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is personal preference, but if you're trying to teach him to hold it, I wouldn't personally run him out to go potty. I'd pop him in the kennel until 10:30.
Okay.
Because that's when his next outing is supposed to be, right? But I know he just woke up from a nap, so he's probably going to have to go. So
that's exactly what I did today. So he crashed out on the kitchen floor. It was about 9:30. had a call. He got up and he's like, oh, and I'm like, okay, let's go in your crate. I gave him a little bone to chew on, and
Fine.
he's still there right now.
That's good. So then at 10:30, you'd go leash him up immediately outside. He potties. I do encourage positive reinforcement. So using a treat, doesn't have to be anything fancy, but something to say, yes, good job.
Yep.
Back inside, maybe you're out there for, 30 minutes, just make it easy. 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock would be his next outing.
Okay.
And then let's say he's playing, and then at 12 o'clock he falls asleep, but at 12:30 he wakes up from his nap, back in the kennel till 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Right? So you're keeping it very strict. Most people, when they go by I take my puppy out every hour, or every time they wake up from a nap and stuff like that, you're never teaching them to hold it.
Yeah.
He's going when he has to go. So then I've had people with adult dogs that have to pee like every 2 hours, because that's the schedule they put them on, especially when they have access to like a patio or a backyard. It's very easy to just open it up and let them run out real quick and then bring them back inside again, right?
Right.
And what I do is every 4 weeks, I increase an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So like you do for starting today, every 2 hours would be your schedule. The exception being if you guys leave. So like, let's say his outing is supposed to be at 12, but you're going to leave at 11 and you're going to be gone for 4 hours, right? Then I would take him out to go potty before I leave. That's only fair. Back inside in the kennel. I leave for 4 hours. I don't come back every 2 hours.
Okay.
Because that time in there is the time that you're stretching him for longer, right? So should he have to go potty, let's say he does make a mistake because he's like, oh, I've never been in the kennel for this long during the day, and he pees in there like at 1 o'clock, and you're gonna come back at 3. Well, now he's sitting in the pee for 2 hours, right? But that's subversive, right? So that, like when you said he peed overnight and he hasn't done it since.
Yep.
That's really good. I use that to my advantage.
That's right.
Okay? So I come back 3 o'clock. Oh, puppy peed. No big deal. We don't get mad. We pick him up, run him outside real quick. If he's got a potty, come back, give him a quick rinse, dry him off, and then reset your clock. Okay.
Okay. Get it. So every time I put him in, should I be giving him some sort of a treat to go in? I usually give him a little treat when he goes in. I say, in your bed, because he doesn't. I just want him to be a positive thing. Is there something wrong about that?
No, it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
The only time I have an issue with it is if the puppy is like, barking and yipping and being terrible in the kennel. I always do positive reinforcement because it helps. But if the puppy's being a brat in the kennel, then they just need to be corrected.
Okay.
Otherwise, I do feeding. Like I do all their meals in the kennel. I give water in the kennel. I'll isolate certain rewards. Like if you have a Kong and you put like cottage cheese or something in there, right? I isolate it only to the kennel while we're kennel training, because then he thinks like, wow, like this place is great because it's the only time I eat. I get water, I get my Kong, this and that. I want to be in here, right?
Right.
So that's the positive side of it. But if he's still being a jerk, and barking at certain times just to be a brat, then I correct him for that behavior to balance it out.
So he's a really good dog. He does not bark. He only barks a couple times at Cora when he's playing, and he'll go, wah, wah. Other than that, he doesn't make a sound. He doesn't make a sound in his crate. Sometimes whimpers really quietly, like you can hardly hear him.
That's fine.
And so he seems to be fine with it. And I give him Kongs in there. I'll put a tiny bit of peanut butter just around the inside, not a ton, but just kind of coating so he can lick it all out. And I give him bully sticks in there. And it's the only time, because there's no way I'd give him a treat with Cora around. Sure. So I isolate them when I give them treats. Although she's figured out a way to get him to give her the treats from the crate. She got his bully stick the other day. I'm like, how did you get the bully stick? The crate was closed, but he must have had it like on the edge.
Oh.
She has no self-control at all. Yeah. So I'm like, you got it again. And then we'll let him out and she'll like race in to see if there's a bully stick in there. It's like, oh. And my mom's like, I forgot to grab it. Like, it's all right. Cora's had a lot of bully sticks this week. So at least they're small.
So just so you're aware, like, because this happened with me with another client, there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the puppy you have today doesn't necessarily mean the puppy you're gonna have tomorrow.
Okay.
The stuff that you said of like the whimpering, like because you've had him for a month now, right?
Yeah, we've had him a month now. That's
Yeah.
right.
So for a lot of things in my book, you're in the clear, because typically when people bring the puppies home, if there's issues with the kennel, like they're still struggling with it now. The slight
Okay.
whimper here and there, not a big deal. That should go away, unless it start to escalate. But I think you're fine.
Yeah, he's great. He's really pretty easygoing.
Yeah. At 6 months and a year is when things start to change.
Okay.
I have a client, they got a 2-month-old like apricot golden doodle, and they've had him for a month now. And then just like 3 days ago, he bit the youngest daughter
Oh,
over a
wow.
bully stick.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she's like, for the first month, everybody was removing it, like taking it from him, no big deal. Even my youngest, like, why the change? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because just like humans, we're constantly growing. I was like, it's not out the ordinary that, people get fixated on, this is my dog forever. I'm like, no, things change, and the dog became a resource guarder and chose the weakest human in the home, which was the youngest daughter.
Wow.
So I told her no big deal, because they're going to do e-collar anyways.
Okay.
So I was like, I can address that. But,
Okay.
just keep an eye out for things. Don't, I'm always watching them, he's a pup. So if you see something that you don't like, it's very easy to address it now, as opposed
Okay.
to ignoring it, hoping it goes away and then trying to fix it later.
So the only thing that, not only thing, because there's several, but one thing that we are, that's interesting about him that is really frustrating for us is sometimes he gets in this hyper mode where he like runs around and crazy, crazy, crazy. And then, and he's like grabbing a bite of the plant, and then he runs away and he comes back and he tries to get another bite of the plant. And you're like, no, you can't eat the plant. So we have, it gets in that frenzy, and sometimes it's hard to, and so we sometimes just put him in his crate when he gets like that, and just to calm down with a treat, like relax. I made a bonker. I haven't used it yet, but I'm like, I'm gonna have to get a bonker. So I rolled up a soft kitchen towel, put 3 rubber bands around it. So I got it ready to go. And, but I haven't had to use it yet. Cause the last few days he's been pretty good. He teethes, right? Chews everything. We're letting him chew sticks. We're letting him chew pine cones. He just tears them up outside. He likes to carry shoes around. We're trying to substitute a lot. Like, here's your toys. He loves his toys, which is great. Cora hated toys. She didn't really show any interest in toys, so it was very hard to substitute anything for her. But he loves his toys, so we're able to substitute pretty well. When he teethes on me, I take my hands and I wrap his gums around his teeth and just kind of gently squeeze and say, no bites. He doesn't bite me very much. So he seems to get the cue with me. So, but he still, is testing his limits all the time. And he likes shoelaces. I think he's just a normal puppy.
All that stuff is normal.
Yeah.
So
with one thing that he's starting to do is, he didn't initially leave Cora alone when she was resting on the couch. So Cora likes to lounge. She lounges on the couch, and she'll be laying there and her feet are sticking off, and he'll come up and start to, bother her, like lick her toes, and she goes, ah. Or sometimes she'll just do a, and he doesn't get it, and then she'll snap at him to get him to go away. And sometimes he doesn't get it and he wants to keep pushing. And so you had told us before, if he starts to bug her and he doesn't get it because she's giving him cues that he isn't understanding, we then kind of remove him from the torturing her. So I'll usually say, Appa, leave it, leave Cora alone, leave her alone. And now, like last night, she was on a pillow and he came up and I said, Appa, leave Cora alone, leave it. And he looks at me, and he did. He left her alone. So he's looking at me, looking at Cora, looking at me. And I think he's starting to understand what that means. But should we still be doing that? Should we still be discouraging him from bothering her when she's not interested in playing?
I would go by Cora, which most likely is yes.
Okay.
Okay. Dogs are very black and white. And did I send you my playlist of puppy videos?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to send that to you as well.
Okay.
So humans and dogs think very differently. Okay, dogs are very black and white. Humans are very compassionate, and we don't want to hurt, right? Plus, we like cute little things. So, which how would you say, kind of blinds us to certain things. Okay. So when you said that Cora would start growling at him, right, and then he kept pushing, and then she would correct him, but then he kept pushing, right? I'm thinking, well, if Cora is going to do her job, she's going to correct even firmer,
Yeah.
right? That's the natural progression of things. If you didn't get it with the growl, and if you didn't get it with the snap, well, then I'm going to really have to kick your ass, little puppy, right?
That's
And
right.
not to be mean, to set a boundary, but then after that moment, chances are Appa would respect Cora, right? But you don't know what that degree is going to be.
Right.
Okay. So what I do is, when I heard, if I would have seen Cora growling, I would have just corrected for Cora right there. I don't let her escalate, period. Okay. So, and that's where my bonker would come into play, because I know even if I bonked him with the hardest bonk ever, it's a rolled up towel. It's not going to puncture him.
But is he going to think you're being
no?
Okay.
That's again human. Okay. So, in the videos that I'm going to send you, there's one in particular that I love, and it's like 10 puppies in a room, and they're like, I think they're retrievers or they're Labradors, right? And they're being puppies, they're being brats, and they're loud noise, and the mom comes in, rah, right, and just is biting them and just shuts them up within like a minute, right? And you look at it, and the human like, oh my God, she's so mean. I'm like, no, that's a mom right there. She just came in and said, quiet, right? And I love it because people always think, oh, my puppy, like they're meant to be little, loud, obnoxious brats. I'm like, no, not when they're amongst themselves. There is very strict hierarchy. There's very strict rules, but it would, and there's some where the mom is actually just biting the puppy, and you see how firm they bite and stuff and how aggressive it looks, right? That the bonker is nowhere near that. However, with a puppy and a lot of dogs, it's very effective without the potential of like harming,
Right.
So you're not being mean. If anything, you're keeping your puppy safe.
Would you say anything when you're bonking, or just bonk?
Because Cora already did.
Got it. So all you got to do is bonk.
You're reinforcing for Cora. You're a team now, right? Okay. So, and I made this mistake myself very early on in my career when I was just learning. And I would read everything as aggressive behavior. Is when I got my pit bull puppy, Lexi, she was 3 months, and I had Xena, who was at the time was about 2.5 years old. She was my cow mix. And she was sleeping in the closet because she liked it as a den. And Lexi goes over like a puppy to like go, what's up? And Xena just goes, right, and just chases her out the closet. And I went, hey, and I corrected Xena for that. Okay. And ever since I did that, Lexi would harass the crap out of Xena, and Xena wouldn't do anything. I screwed up.
So Xena's like, okay, I guess it's my lot in life to be terrorized by this dog, and I have to tolerate it.
Correct. Right. So I screwed up my own hierarchy. So then once I learned more, and I was like, oh crap, I created this problem because my pitty, who is 60, 70 pounds, and my chow mix is 25 pounds, is the more powerful one as it is physically. Mm-hmm. So what I should have done was let that happen so that she doesn't know that she's more powerful physically because she's weaker mentally then to my chow mix. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's how it goes when it comes out. And I used to have guinea pigs and a cat as well. And they used to eat together, by the way. And they were coexisting because I made the weaker animals physically the top of the hierarchy and the more powerful ones weaker to have that kind of coexistence. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So For Cora here, obviously Appa is not going to be physically stronger than Cora. However, you're not wanting Cora to go to the next degree.
Right.
Right. So then you correct for her. You don't need to say anything because she already did.
Okay.
You're right. She growled. And then should Appa keep returning, you keep bonking. Okay.
Bonk him on the head, bonk him on the
Anywhere.
butt.
Anywhere. You can throw it at him. You can whack him with it. Don't be afraid if he goes twirling a couple of feet. Okay. Because my Chihuahua, who's 10 pounds, excuse me 1 second, I'm sorry.
No worries. Hey, are you still on? Okay, I'm taking notes.
Okay. For sure. Thank you. Sorry, I had a phone ringing over here.
No worries, no worries.
Oh, so my Chihuahua, he's 8 pounds. Okay. And he's a feral dog, by the way, when I got him. He grew up outside. Never was in a kennel, never was inside a house ever, period.
Wow.
And I got him at a year. So he was very dog aggressive, very dog reactive, not kennel trained, not potty trained. So, I had my work cut out for me. And I got it addressed very quickly. Within, I want to say 2 to 3 days, he was crate trained, not whining, and he broke out the crate once, tore up the carpet, by the way. But the dog reactivity, because they make prong collars for dogs that small.
Okay.
He would just blow up, and I would correct him with the prong collar, and he'd go twirling, but then he'd go right back at it again. Right? So, and people would see me, they're like, what the hell are you doing to your little dog? And I'm like, he's not phased. Right? But there's the intensity of me as opposed to the dog. Right? And it would literally take me 3 to 4 corrections of just yanking the crap out of him with the prong collar and making him spin before he actually stopped the behavior.
Interesting.
Okay. So dogs bite each other. That's how they evaluate or they scale things, right? So your towel will never match a dog bite, but you're taking advantage of the fact that Appa is still a 3-month-old puppy psychologically.
Yeah. Right.
And it comes across more powerful, and it might lose its effectiveness over time, but you've already started establishing a foundation, because every personality type is different. It is, again, a rolled up towel. In a lot of cases, it does remain effective. I don't know. It depends on the dog.
Okay.
So it's like me getting spanked growing up. At some point, I outgrew being spanked.
Right.
Right. But then they had to do more kind of psychological, like, okay, well, you can't play with your friends for a month. But you can't do that with Appa, right? You can't tell him, like, hey, well, I'm going to, you can't go to the dog park anymore. And he's not going to, just like walk away all sad, right? That's why we had prong collar, e-collar, and all these other aversives to correct, okay?
Okay.
And they do this as young as 3 to 4 weeks, by the way, in the litter.
Okay. So can we bonk him when he goes after the plants? There's a couple plants. Bonk him.
On stuff. If he has a shoe, if you see him just about to harass Cora, don't even wait for her, right? Just correct. Yeah. And you're teaching him a lot of boundaries. Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are more important than sit, stay down, come, heel.
Okay.
Okay. Think of it as like obedience as education and behavior as morality, right? And that, I guess is all an opinion on the opinion of the parent, but I would find it more important to raise a good human than it would be to raise a genius.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Agree. Yeah. Right.
So,
we want to make sure he's polite, like a polite dog.
Correct. So like, let's say with jumping on people say like, oh, my puppy jumps on people, they need to learn how to sit. And I go, or you just teach them not to jump on people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the sit is an extra step.
Yeah.
I don't care if he walks around their legs and like rubs against them and is polite and not like, because if you've corrected the jumping, that's the problem.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything you dislike, and also before I forget, when like with the bully sticks and the things, the toys and stuff, I do recommend you always keep things put away, which you probably do because of Cora.
We do, yeah, we do, and we
Until
only give it to him when it's time to go in his crate, and then we put it away.
Because it makes it more valuable when you do give it to him. It makes
That's
it
right.
more.
That's right.
The other thing is, like, let's say he has a shoe, or as he hits 6 months, 5 to 6 months, you're going to see an increase in chewing because he's going to be teething. So if I see him chewing on my shoe, I would bonk him for chewing on my shoe. But I understand he's teething, so then I would then put him in his kennel and give him his bully stick.
Okay.
You know, so I'm saying, hey, if you chew on the stuff that has my scent, I'm going to correct you. But I understand you also have your needs as a puppy, so here you go.
Okay.
Okay, so it's very well balanced. A lot of people try to do the redirect, where they'll go, you know, they'll wave something in front of the puppy, so they'll leave the shoe alone. But then a lot of times they'll keep chewing on the shoe because they're like, well, I get the bully stick all the time. But your shoe, it's only out every now and then. So now it's got more value.
Right. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So verses are meant to stop things you don't like.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions?
What about collars? We just have a little, like a cute little nylon collar on him right now. We use it when we're walking. At what point would we move to a prong or a choker collar for walking and teach heel?
How big is he gonna get?
He'll get 45 pounds. Bob's been on a call, so.
I just got off.
So he'll get to be about 45 pounds. He's probably 15 to 18 now.
Okay. Does he put any pressure on his throat right now, or does he kind of walk just fine?
He's great. He doesn't put much pressure at all. He's pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll run off, and I mean every so often he will, but not continually.
Sure.
Okay.
I would either wait till he's 25 to 35 pounds for the prong.
Okay.
Or you wait till he's 6 months and then you use a gentle leader in the interim.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've seen them, the one that goes with the snout, right? I do that for all my puppies under 6 months.
Okay.
Because it still gives you control. You know, if he tries to like pick up garbage off the ground, you still have immediate access to, you know, moving them or removing them from it.
Yes.
The prong collar, my only qualm with introducing it too soon is that sometimes it creates nervous piddlers.
Okay.
If not done correctly. And by the time they're 6 months, especially because he's growing up with Cora, because she's going to toughen him up, is that at that point, they've been through enough discomfort that it's not so abrasive to them. Otherwise, if you put it on them too soon, like they're like shrieking and twirling and jumping and alligator rolling and stuff, and it's super ugly. I'll work through it, but then the owner's like, holy crap, is this normal? You know?
He's pretty easy to control right now, so you know, so far it's been pretty manageable.
And for puppies under 6 months, like again, I really focus on the behavior stuff, which doesn't mean you can't do your sit and your down and your paw and your rollover stuff, right, with the food and everything. But people tend to think like, oh, when I teach this now, if I do a good job, the dog will be great when they're older, and that's not true. Like realistically speaking, with squirrels and rabbits and the trail and other dogs, he's gonna be like, screw the food, man. Like I want to go do this. Is where, you know, prong or e-collar would come into play.
Right. Okay.
And I do e-collar for puppies at 6 months as well.
Okay.
You can do either or at that age.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
You can actually do e-collar earlier, like that puppy I told you about earlier that bit the daughter. He's coming here in 2 weeks, so he'll be 3.5 months, and they're already doing e-collar.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because the puppy's driving them nuts.
Okay.
And I was like, it's perfectly safe, you know.
I took some notes. I'm going to quickly recap for Bob and fill me in where I missed. Okay. So we talked about, we were talking about what I was saying, when we take him outside, the play escalates and gets a little bit rough and gets a little rougher because Appa doesn't really have an escape place like the kitchen to go. So Cora will like barrel him over and he'll roll a couple times. It doesn't stop him from coming back for more. But I start to feel like I get a little bit uncomfortable because she starts to get really rough with the play. And he said,
I've been gone for a few days, so I haven't seen much.
Yeah.
Like that.
So, So I told Jesse that I was kind of reducing the amount of play outside just to restrict that, and what he was suggesting. He said, put the e-collar on her, turn it really low, like 10.
Yeah.
And don't say a word. But when it starts to get to the point where you're thinking it's escalating, tap it. So what you're doing is you're going to create some boundaries. Like, it's not a free for all for you guys out here. You need to keep it under control. Mm-hmm. And he said that just tap it. Don't say anything. If she looks at you, don't respond. And if 10 doesn't do it, put it to 12, put 14, whatever works. But that should give her a cue that, hey, I need to dial it down. And then it may result in her play drive declining a little bit, but that would be normal and it should come back. And if we overcorrect it, it'll bring her play drive down. Like, she'll think that we don't want her to play, but then that'll come back too. Mm-hmm. Give it a couple of days, but try not to don't overcorrect. Try not to overcorrect.
Because in general, it's, they've been playing, which I think has been good. Cora's engaged.
Yeah, I sent him some videos.
It's generally rough play, which is what Cora does, and it's not phasing them much so far. So
yeah,
no. Just you saw the videos.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was healthy play. I saw Cora, at least indoors. I saw Cora being very reserved. Her positioning was always kind of sideways, not always like directly towards them. It's just very confrontational. When you look at how she opens her mouth, like, it's very non-threatening.
Yeah.
So she was playing with them really well, and I understand, and I completely agree and see with what you're saying with the difference in environment affecting how they play.
Yeah.
Right.
Cora likes to have dogs, like, she wants dogs to run, and then she wants to chase them. Sure. She wants Appa to run. And so that's outside. There's more room, and if Appa runs, Cora's full steam at him and knocks him over. And
sure. And that you can tone down too, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I like it because she is toughening up Appa.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he is 15 pounds.
Right.
So, it's kind of like you're balancing it out where you're like, yeah, this stuff is beneficial because it's shaping him, it's molding him, it's toughening him up as a dog. But she's not aware that there's potential that she might, break a leg or something. Right.
That's right.
So then if you start to see him run and her start to go full steam, you can use the collar to slow her down, so like they might do everything else but the chase.
Right.
Right now.
Right.
Which doesn't mean in the future when he's 45 pounds that can hold his own, that you can then kind of ease up on the boundaries a bit and let them play more at their full scale. Yeah,
I like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, she doesn't have a level. It's all in.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we also talked about going potty. So I told him that there's been a couple of times when we think Appa's like, he goes to the back door and kind of tells us that he needs to go outside. And he goes, no, he's just telling you he wants to go outside. He's not telling you he has to go potty.
Okay.
So he said, put him on your schedule, get him on a schedule. And I think back in Cora was on a schedule. We had a dog walker. We put her in the kennel. We took her for a walk, peed, poop, put her in the kennel. We went to work. The dog walker came 3 or 4 hours later, took her out to walk, pee, poop, back in the crate for the rest of the afternoon. Then we get home, pee and poop. So she learned that way because we had to go to work. Nobody was home.
But now
it's really hard because
we're all
it's
home.
harder because we're home all the time.
And he's in his crate and he's he's seeing us walk around, and which is fine. He's like, no, you're in your crate right now. So he says, hold it to 2 hours right now, and be really diligent about it. Like this morning, like exactly what we did with. He fell asleep on the kitchen floor. He woke up when I came down at 9:30. We put him in his crate, take him out at 10:30 to pee poop. So anyway, got that.
The morning schedule's easier because we get up, we start the day, we take them for a walk, do all their thing, and then we start working. He goes in the crate for a couple hours, and that stretch is easier. It's then, you get to lunchtime, and the afternoons probably the schedule gets a lot more spread out. The morning's we can be pretty good.
Yeah, and then Ryan comes down. He's like, "Oh, I want to play with Appa," so he takes him out of his crate and starts playing with him, and so it messes up the schedule a little bit sometimes.
Right. And just as forewarning, the other family that I'm working with has not been able to potty train their puppy.
Okay.
Because of quarantine, because of the exact same stuff you're saying.
It's hard. He's doing okay, but it's hard. Her peeing.
I can tell you're better off for sure. Okay. because they have 3 kids.
Okay.
Like young kids, like 9, 11, and like 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think you just have one, was it one son that's like around that age frame?
Yeah, we have a 15-year-old, and then the others are 19 and 24.
Yeah. So
and they're not here.
They're not here all the time.
what I would suggest, okay, is, and I may have spoken with this before, is try to recreate what your normal life would look like Monday through Friday, right? So if you would both be gone 9 to 5, and like with Cora, where a dog walker would come or whatever, I would kennel him 9 to 5, but then midday when the dog walker would come, you have your son come down and take care of that.
Yep.
Right.
So he gets his playtime with Appa, but then it's also keeping him on the schedule of what life would look like, so that when things go back more so to normalcy, you're not having to struggle with any issues there.
Yeah.
And it will help with your potty training a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have to do the full 9 to 5. Like, you can tailor it to what fits you, so maybe it's 10 to 4 or 10 to 3 at least,
Yeah.
because I know you have that morning routine and everything like that, which I think it's great for the puppy. So it's kind of just shaping it to what's going to be beneficial to you, because that's much better than nothing,
But we should be shooting for 2 to 3 hours right now.
Correct. At the 3 months, he's technically able to hold it for 3 hours, but he has not been taught to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I forget, remember,
he's doing great overnight.
Excuse me?
He does great overnight right now.
Yeah,
so
but that's easy.
Yeah.
That's the easy part. It's when they're awake and running around. But every 4 weeks, bump it 1 hour.
Okay.
So in 4 weeks, 3 hours, in 4 weeks, 4 hours, until you hit the 6 to 8 hour range. Then you should be pretty good, because it's typically morning, afternoon, or evening, early evening, and then before bed is like the typical potty schedule.
Okay.
Right.
So he's going to be spending a lot of more time in his crate than what we've probably been having him do.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
And like, let's say you put him in the crate and he potties in there, right? During that time frame, I don't take him out and clean him up. I leave him in there.
Okay.
Until it's time to go potty again. I maintain that schedule because, one, that's the aversive. I better not go potty in my kennel, right? And it's going to really cement that whole routine of going out on a schedule.
And I sort of feel like he, when he's in his crate, he doesn't do that. It's like he's learned to do that. So he's fine when he's in there.
Yeah.
It's when he's out. Right?
Yeah. Dogs don't want to pee and poop where they eat and sleep, because there's no way to avoid it, right? So like for humans, we have a bathroom. We don't eat in the bathroom. We have other areas of the house for that.
That's good.
But for Appa, the house is one big kennel, right? So if he pees in one little spot over there in the corner and there's the rest of the house to have, like, it's not a deterrent for him.
Yeah.
So,
the good thing for him is that we usually know where he has his pee spots where he pees every time. So we keep pee pads over him so we can throw him in the washing machine. But and then we put a clean one out. So at least we aren't getting pee all over everything. He has his select spots and we can protect them. But yesterday he didn't have an accident, probably because we took him out way too much.
Yeah. I would be careful with the pee pads, because if you have any rugs or carpeted areas and you start to give him more space, he may start going in those areas.
Okay.
Because to him, he just perceives it as a soft absorbent surface, not so much a this is where I potty type of deal.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. You're trying to reduce potties in the home as much as possible. If there's any mistakes in the home, it's in the kennel.
Okay.
Those are the learning mistakes. And then anytime he potties, it's always outside.
Does he see that as discipline going in his kennel then when that happens?
If you're concerned about like making the kennel a negative place, that's not going to happen. The only way to really make that happen is if you made the entire experience of him being in the kennel unpleasant. Okay. So like if he's in the kennel and you're banging it and all that stuff and he's all scared, and then when he gets out the kennel, it stops, then he thinks, crap, well, I don't want to go in there, because when I'm in there, all this crap happens, but as long as they don't go in there, everything's fine.
So if he has a potty accident, we put him in his kennel, can we give him a treat in there to chew on? Or is that reinforcing that he peed out there? I mean, how do you balance that?
Well, I mean, if the accident already happened, like you're talking about loose in the home?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't discipline that.
Yeah. So So if he has an accident, and then you take him straight out to pee, and then the 2 hour starts again from there, you'd think?
Yeah, you just reset.
Yeah, reset, and then, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, it'd be pointless to put him in there because it's already happened, you know?
Yeah.
What you can do is if you see him about to or in the middle of doing so, you can actually bonk that.
Yeah, if you catch him doing it,
You can bonk that. We should make a couple bonkers, and all of us have a bonker in our back pocket.
She's all in on bonking.
No.
Yeah, I usually suggest 3 to 5.
Yeah, so another thing that I tell you about protecting Cora, because our time's almost up.
Yeah.
He said, use the bonker to correct everything. And before Cora even escalates, if she just goes, correct Appa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bonk Appa, bonk him whenever he starts to disturb her.
Because I'm usually basically shoving him with my hand right now. It's like I'm like telling him no and shoving him with my hand right now when he does that.
So instead of her correcting him with biting him, we're going to correct him by bonking him.
Correct. And you might find the first time you try to bonk him, you're going to be terrible at it. Okay?
Yeah. He's seen the bonker and he thinks it's a toy.
He's going to want to play with it.
Yes. And that was going to be my next thing. So that's why I like to make 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Is when you go to bonk. If he thinks it's a toy, then I take the others and I keep bonking them. And I keep cycling through them until it's not fun anymore.
Okay.
So I remember there was a couple of times growing up when I was just getting too old for spanking. And my mom started spanking me and I started laughing.
Yeah.
You know, and then she's like, oh, you think this is funny? All right. And she just kept spanking me until it wasn't funny anymore. You know, because, you get sore. So I look at it the same way. I bonk him. He's like, oh, a toy. I'm like, mm-mm-mm. And I just keep going at it until eventually he yips and he runs away. He's like, crap, that's not a toy. Okay?
Got it.
And typically once you get that across that first, maybe second time, like he's not going to want to play.
You have 2 bonkers in your hand?
You can have a utility belt,
I lined up the bonkers.
Yeah. But yeah, make at least 3 to 5 is what I recommend.
Okay.
And then just make sure you have them on hand and stuff.
Okay.
There's no yelling involved here. There's no frustration. There's no anger. It's just a very neutral, firm correction.
Okay.
Okay.
What about holding a scruff and saying no? What do you think about that?
It depends on the dog. Like if that's all you have, then it is what it is. But dogs are all about physicality,
Okay.
I mean, dogs do hold each other by the scruff, but dogs also have teeth when they do that.
Got it. So
Right.
bonking is probably just try bonking and keep that as our discipline or our deterrent.
Correct. And then I sent you the videos on that, correct?
No, I didn't see the bonker videos.
All right. I'll resend all this stuff. I have notes
You'll
here.
pick it up. You'll pick it up and he'll just know.
Yeah.
So I'll send you the puppy videos. I'll send you the mom's correcting puppy playlist, and then I'll send you the bonker videos as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you have any questions, you let me know. Okay.
I will.
Just shoot me an email, whatever. And then, cause I think you had like a class or 2 left for Cora, didn't you?
Yeah, we had 2 left.
Yeah. And then you also paid a travel fee because I was going over to you guys, right?
Right.
So, right now everybody's traveling to us at a park, but what we could do if you needed, you could say those classes as long as you want. I don't care. But like if you want to use them instead for Appa, once I start doing home to home, that's fine. Or if we could also just look at the value of what you paid for, and then you can also just turn them into Zoom sessions if you have more questions about stuff.
Okay.
These 2 that you did with me and the one with Maddie were all complimentary because we just added these 2 programs. But since you have classes left over, there's some value there, so you can kind of use it as you need them. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much,
great.
Jesse. You've been so helpful, and I'd recommend you to anybody. In fact, I recommended you to one of my friends the other day. So
awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. You guys
Thanks
need
a lot.
to let us know. Thank you.
Okay. I'm glad you're healthy.
Take
Thank
care.
you. You too.
Safe.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.